this might be the most misunderstood part of the exhaust, the silencer or the resonator. I've never seen much more confusion than this all over the internet, and it seems to be a specifically Filipino thing where they think that this is the most important, utmost thing in the exhaust that is worth mentioning. Never mind the headers, never mind the muffler. It's this thing, the resonator. So I'll be breaking down what exactly it is. Do you really even need one? And why do so many people think you need one? Oh, but first, before we do the test protocol, which is going to be on the most typical car in the country, it is a Toyota Vios, a manual Toyota Vios. This is pretty much representative of every four-cylinder car that is out there. Then what we're going to be doing is we'll be dynoing it. This one. This is a pure stock Vios, by the way. So stock intake, stock exhaust, everything. No modifications, nothing. So we'll dyno the stock. We'll read the horsepower. This has a stock mid silencer resonator. I'll be using these two terms interchangeably because they mean one and the same thing. So after that, we'll cut it out. We'll change it with a straight pipe. We'll dyno it again, and then we'll replace it with an aftermarket resonator like this one. And then we'll dyno it again, and we'll see and discuss the results afterwards. But first, a little bit of science. Okay, I think this message from a customer, well, inquiry, not the customer hasn't bought anything from us yet, but sums it up pretty correctly. By the way, sir, in terms of resonator, what's the purpose of that one? Sound reduction or for back pressure? Then that's where it gets kind of sticky. But first, let us define what we mean by resonator. Like I said, resonator and silencer, these two things are interchangeable, and what their job is basically to so resonator and silencer, both of these two things mean exactly the same thing. And let's draw out what a typical four-cylinder looks like. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's draw out what a typical four-cylinder engine looks like. So four cylinders, you have the headers here, you have the pipe, you have a silencer here, whether that is round, oval, flat, pancake, square like in a Subaru, or a real square like in some of the European cars. So that's located in the middle. And there's the pipe here. Then you have a rear pipe. Then you have your muffler here at the back, usually. So this is a typical four-cylinder gasoline engine exhaust configuration. For diesels, surprise, surprise. Oh, for gasoline, usually there's also a catalytic converter here. So that's the cat. Let's just label it. So silencer slash muffler. For a diesel, particularly turbo diesel, it's slightly different. So you have the turbo here. You have a downpipe, catalytic converter here. And surprise, surprise, that's why most people are amazingly confused because when they look under the car, usually in the middle, what they see a for diesel, this is called the muffler. Muffler is usually reserved for the very last silencing component of the exhaust. So since on the diesel there's only one, that's called the muffler. There are no resonators in the diesel. There are no silencers either. There's no headers also. What you have is a turbo manifold here, which you cannot really change that much. So with that out of the way, if you read, if you go to the internet, you'll be very, very confused. Say, if you remove this part here, so you remove that, you will lose back pressure. First and foremost, there's no such thing as back pressure. Exhaust flow goes out here, straight out to the atmosphere. There is no force pushing back on it. That's not back pressure. Back pressure is you take a blower and then you stick it into the exhaust pipe, then you blow it back. That's back pressure. This is not back pressure. So the origin of that term actually comes from when your car is turbocharged. When you have a turbo, and this is the outlet, exhaust manifold, turbo outlet. All of the exhaust gases are forced through here to turn the turbine here, and it goes out here. This part is restricted. So basically you have all four cylinders supplying all the gases into one single pipe that goes out. And this is where the term back pressure comes in, because there is a pressure differential between here, this point, and this point. That's where your boost comes from, basically. That's why it's called pounds per square inch, the measurement of the literal meaning of pressure, pounds per square inch. And pounds per square inch of pressure here in the manifold and here in the exhaust, there is a measurable difference. And that's where we get our, well, the boost is really measured from here, because you can have the same amount of the pressure differential here, but the boost is different. So for all those purposes, let's just consider this one there. So let's say this one is about 25 psi, just for arbitrary. And after it goes through the turbo, it becomes 15 there. If you measure it from here and you measure it from here, that is the difference. So back pressure equals pressure differential. But if you look at this diagram here, if you measure the pressure here, let's say you stick a pressure gauge like that, or stick a pressure gauge here, you'll actually measure nothing because it is atmospheric. You're not trying boost nothing. So assuming for all intents and purposes, you stick a pressure gauge here, the proper way to test this is you have to plug the muffler here. So you put a plug here, nothing goes in, nothing goes out. Then you rev the engine. Then you can measure pressure here. So if you measure the pressure here, and then you measure the pressure here, so 1 and 2, you guess what? You'll get exactly the same pressure readings. Let's say it's 5 psi before the silencer. You'll still get 5 psi after the silencer. So hopefully that little explanation will prove to you that back pressure does not exist. It is a made-up term in the same way that stage 1, stage 3, and stage 100 tuning is. It's been convoluted by the internet. But don't take my word for it. We're going to be testing that. So that's assuming that there is a difference in back pressure. The argument is if you reduce the back pressure, you will reduce power. Or actually, if you flip it, if you increase the back pressure, you will decrease power. So any which way you're damned. If you add back pressure, power loss. If you decrease back pressure, also power loss. So those two things cannot be true at the same time. So the best way to do it is going to put it on the dyno and then put to rest once and for all that does this thing really cause any power loss or gain or whatever you want to call it. So either by removing it, changing it to an aftermarket one, and comparing it with stock. We can also actually measure exhaust velocity. I have on the way here right now a thing called an anemometer. It's like that. There's a little fan there. It's used to measure wind speed. So what we'll be doing is we'll be putting it a little bit of a distance away from the exhaust so it doesn't melt the fan. But at least we will get some numerical indication of what the exhaust flow is. And if this thing really does alter the exhaust flow, whether again through add or decrease it, we should see it right there. All right, we're done with our dyno and our instrumented testing. So our anemometer says 14, 15 meters per second. So that's basically the exhaust velocity, stock exhaust. Our decibel meter, well, it fluctuates, but it says 77 up to 79, which is way below 99 decibels as stated in our motor vehicle inspection laws. The test protocol is As you saw a while ago, it's half a meter away at an angle from the exhaust tip. So that's the distance, and you rev the car up to 2,500. So that's the test. So anything below that, it's considered a pass. So obviously it's a stock exhaust, and obviously it will pass. So what we're going to be doing now is we're lifting the car up. We're going to be removing the stock resonator silencer, which in our case, it's this one over here. This thing's actually a catalytic converter. That's also a catalytic converter. So we won't be messing with that. We just want to test and see if removing the resonator does indeed make you lose power, make you gain power, back pressure, all of that other nonsense. So we'll be cutting this here, and we'll be welding a straight pipe of the same diameter there. This is test number 2, so this is with the silencer removed, and we just did the decibel test. So we went from 77, 78 to about 84, 85, so an increase of about 5, 6 decibels. So louder, yes, a little bit growlier, yes, a bit more sporty sound from a stock muffler. We'll still pass our MVIS. Alright, so this is with the stainless steel aftermarket silencer. As you saw, decibel levels is at 80, 81, so slightly less than the 84, 85 a while ago. So, and obviously a lot more noisier than the 77, 78. So it's like the happy middle. So you just want some little sound. This is the way to go. You can actually have a straight pipe, it'll still pass. What does that tell us? Like I said, the thing is called a silencer for a reason, because it makes the exhaust quiet. So the stock silencer is the most quiet that you can get. Making the silencer smaller or eliminating the silencer makes it more noisy. So now our last dyno test, we'll see the airflow again from this one, and then we'll see what the horsepower is. Well, we're done with our little experiment, and I think the results pretty much speak for themselves. So these are 3 separate lines from 3 separate runs. Red line is stock. They're kind of close in color, so we'll try. Red line is stock. Pink line is with the straight pipe, and then purple line is with the aftermarket silencer. As you can see, it's not even pretty damn close. It's actually exactly the same. There's a little of course, and not everyone will be the same. There will be a little variance every so often here, but for all intents and purposes, this is exactly the same power that's made everywhere. Low end, mid range, peak horsepower. So it's still about 65-ish horsepower. What does that tell us? Conclusion means, number one, a resonator or silencer does not reduce horsepower, does not reduce back pressure, does not increase back pressure. Do you need one in a full exhaust? No, you don't. The only thing that pretty much changed with all our instrumented testing is the sound level. That's it. So quiet, but a little bit louder, and a little bit, even bit more louder. The exhaust velocity stayed the same, 14, 15 meters per second. So I guess this experiment should put all doubts to rest that You don't need a silencer or resonator in the middle. It is not important. It has nothing to do with horsepower. It all has to do with making the exhaust quiet. And that's pretty much it. Again, it's called a silencer because it makes things more silent. So if you can see actually here, this example here, there's quite a few companies that make full exhaust or catback systems without a silencer, without a resonator. And these are really expensive ones too. So when we do a full exhaust, the whole reason, well, not the whole reason, but a lot of the reason why people want the exhaust because they want it louder. Because with regulations and stuff, stock exhaust now are so quiet you can't hardly hear them anymore. Again, part reason is you want the whole thing to be louder, you want to enjoy the exhaust rumble, and that's what we'll give you. There will be a certain class of people that will complain about the loudest, namely wives, girlfriends, and mothers. So with our full exhaust without a mid silencer, if one of them complains, it's easy. We just add a little one, and as you saw a while ago, it will quiet it down noticeable enough. You'll still get better sound than stock, but not to the point where you get screamed at by your spouse. So again, silencers, resonators are not needed and not necessary.